Welcome to Science for Sleep, a place where curiosity rests gently beside calm. Here, you're invited to lie back, breathe slowly, and drift into the quiet wonder of how things work, without needing to stay fully awake to understand them. Tonight, we begin a new series, How Memory Works, a gentle tour of your mind's library. Inside your brain, there's no dust, no paper, no shelves, and yet, a vast and living library lives within you. Every memory you hold, a moment, a face, a smell, a word, has been quietly written into the folds of your mind. In this series, we'll softly explore how those memories form, why some fade while others stay, and how sleep, emotion, and attention shape the stories you carry. This is real science, told slowly, like a whisper through the corridors of thought. So rest easy. You don't need to try to remember anything we talk about. Let the ideas float through you like a gentle breeze. Let your mind wander if it wants to. You're safe here, and this is only the beginning of a beautiful journey inward. You close your eyes, and the world outside begins to dissolve. The sounds of the day fall away, like leaves drifting to the ground. And beneath that stillness, something stirs, not in the world around you, but within you. There is a place you carry that no one else can enter. A place vast, invisible, but unmistakably real. It has no doors, no locks, no staircases, and yet you've been here before. You know this place. It is your mind's library. Softly lit by attention, its shelves stretch beyond the edge of awareness. They're filled not with pages or bindings, but with the textures of your life. The scent of your grandmother's kitchen, the sound of rain on a school bus window, the ache of a goodbye that never had the right words. Each memory rests in silence, like a book waiting to be opened. Some sit right near the front, easy to reach. Others are buried deep in the stacks, dusty from disuse, but still intact, still yours. You don't always choose what gets stored here. Some memories feel handpicked, like your first kiss or your favorite birthday. Others arrived quietly, without your permission, etching themselves into you just by being there long enough, loud enough, emotional enough. Inside this library, there are different rooms. Some are tidy, organized, familiar. You walk in and everything is right where you left it. Your multiplication tables, your phone number, the words to a childhood song. But other rooms are strange and shifting. You know you've been in them before, but they've rearranged themselves when you weren't looking. You walk through one and think, did that really happen that way? Memory can be slippery. Still, the structure is there, built not of stone or wood, but of cells and connections. Your brain is a living library, and every thought you've ever had leaves behind a trace. Let's go deeper now, into the architecture of this place. Imagine the brain as a city at night, lit with billions of tiny lights, neurons, each flickering, sparking, passing signals. When you experience something, a moment, a sound, a feeling, your neurons fire in patterns. Some of them connect, forming paths. The more often those paths are walked, the stronger they become. It's like footsteps in fresh snow. The first ones are faint, but as you repeat them, the trail becomes clear. These connections are your synapses, tiny bridges between neurons where memories are forged. They're not static. They grow, change, weaken, or strengthen, depending on what you notice, repeat, or feel deeply. Your hippocampus, a curved structure deep in your brain, acts like a master cataloger. It decides what gets stored and what doesn't. It labels memories, tags them with time and place, and quietly files them into longer-term shelves. Then there's the cortex, where the storage happens, where your knowledge, your sense of space, your understanding of people, language, and emotion settle and over time, like books shelved in sections. Even in sleep, this library is alive. Memories are shuffled, reordered, reshelved into places where they'll last longer. You may think sleep is stillness, but to your mind's library, it is one of its busiest, most essential hours. There are also forgotten wings in this vast structure. Not all memories stay. Some vanish, gently, like fog lifting in the sun. Some decay slowly, their edges blurring until only the feeling remains. And some are buried by time or trauma, waiting quietly until something stirs them back to life. Your memory is not perfect. It is not a hard drive or a recording device. It's more like a painter than a camera, interpreting, layering, retouching every time you recall. Each time you revisit a memory, you don't just read the book, you rewrite parts of it, not always intentionally, but because your present self touches it, adds emotion, reshapes the story ever so slightly. And so, your mind's library is always evolving. It reflects who you were, but also who you are becoming. Even as you lie still tonight, this library holds your childhood home, your best friend's laugh, the taste of your favorite meal, the way the air smelled that night you couldn't sleep. It also holds things you've forgotten you remember, waiting quietly until the right word, smell, or sound unlocks the door. Sometimes it only takes the scent of jasmine, the sound of a piano, or a face in a crowd to bring an old book off the shelf and place it gently in your hands. This is why memories can feel like dreams. Fragile, emotional, not quite tethered to now, but never fully gone. Your library is vast, but it isn't infinite. Not every moment can be kept. Not every page can be saved. So how does the brain decide what matters? What makes a memory worthy of a shelf? That question leads us down a new corridor, one lit by choice, shaped by attention. A sculptor in the shadows who decides what enters through the gate. Let's step quietly now into that part of the mind where focus makes memories possible, where a glance becomes a snapshot, and a breath, if noticed, becomes something you'll remember. A breeze brushes across your cheek. You feel it for a second, cool, soft, passing, and then it's gone. Not just from your skin, but from your awareness, lost in the rush of everything else. But not all moments drift away so easily. Some linger. A smell that reminds you of home. A stranger's voice that sounds like someone you once loved. A song that attaches itself to a moment and never lets go. Why do some moments stick, while others dissolve before you even notice? Your brain, quietly and constantly, is making decisions. What to keep, what to discard, what to turn into memory, and what to leave behind. It begins with sensation. Every second, your senses are gathering data. Sights, sounds, touches, tastes, smells. It's like standing in a storm of information. But if every drop became a memory, your mind would overflow. So it filters. Your sensory organs, eyes, ears, skin, collect input. But it's your brain that decides what's worth remembering. That decision starts in a quiet, watchful place deep in your brain called the thalamus, the gatekeeper. It relays signals like a lighthouse, flashing some forward, letting others pass in silence. If something catches your attention, a bright light, a sudden sound, the feeling of surprise, your thalamus signals to your hippocampus, your memory maker. The hippocampus, shaped like a seahorse, is nestled within your brain's temporal lobes. It's not where memories are stored forever, but it's where they're born. Think of it like a librarian with a blank book and an ink pen. When a moment matters, the hippocampus starts writing, linking sensory data into a story. Here's how it happens. Let's say you walk into a bakery. The warmth of the oven wraps around you. You hear the clink of trays. You see rows of golden bread and smell cinnamon rising in the air. Suddenly, you remember your grandmother, the way she used to bake on Sundays. What's happening? The sensory details of the bakery activate old neural pathways, circuits that connect new experience to familiar patterns. The hippocampus begins binding them together. The smell of cinnamon, the memory of her apron, the sound of her humming. Each sensory detail is stored in a different part of the brain. Smell in the olfactory cortex, sound in the auditory cortex, images in the visual cortex. The hippocampus weaves them into one whole, like threading pearls onto a necklace. This process is called encoding, the act of turning an experience into a neural trace, a memory. But not all encoded memories last. Some fade within hours. Others take root. To become a lasting memory, the trace must be consolidated, strengthened through repetition, significance, or emotional weight. Sometimes this happens quietly over time. Other times, it happens in an instant. That's why you remember where you were during a shocking event, or the exact words someone said when they broke your heart. Emotion speeds up consolidation. Why? Because emotion signals importance. Your brain wants to remember what might keep you safe, or what deeply moved you. Neuroscientists believe the amygdala, a tiny almond-shaped structure near the hippocampus, plays a vital role here. When you feel something strongly, fear, joy, sorrow, the amygdala nudges the hippocampus. Pay attention. This matters. That's how emotional memories carve deep grooves. But your brain doesn't just rely on emotion. It also listens to you. What you choose to focus on, even subtly, influences what gets stored. If you walk through a forest and notice only the sounds of birds, you'll remember the melody of wings more than the color of the leaves. Your attention is the spotlight. Memory follows where it shines. So what happens after the hippocampus writes the memory? It starts a slow, delicate transfer. Memories aren't stored in one place. They're distributed, like a puzzle with pieces scattered across your brain. The prefrontal cortex helps organize this puzzle, deciding how and where to file each part. The most vivid memories, the ones that feel like they happened yesterday, usually include strong sensory and emotional detail. They feel alive because more parts of your brain light up when you recall them. You don't just think about the moment, you relive it. But memory isn't a recording. It's a reconstruction. Each time you remember something, your brain reactivates the original network, but also changes it slightly. Add something, leave something out. Memory is fluid, like ink that never fully dries. That's why two people remember the same moment differently. And yet, your memories feel deeply personal. They are the map of your life, drawn in quiet ink, moment by moment. Some memories form through repetition. Think of learning to tie your shoes or memorizing a phone number. This engages your brain's neuroplasticity, its ability to strengthen the pathways you use often, like walking through grass again and again until a trail appears. Other memories form through novelty. The brain is drawn to the new, the strange, the unexpected. That's why first experiences, first love, first job, first heartbreak, stay with you. They light up more areas of your brain, anchoring themselves more firmly. And yet, memory is also about timing. Your brain doesn't record everything in real time. It processes, filters, shapes. Sometimes you don't know a moment has become a memory until years later, when it returns, uninvited but welcome, like a letter from your past self. This is the gentle paradox of memory. You are always forgetting, and yet something stays. Somewhere in the folds of your mind, a moment is waiting, tucked between neurons, softened by time, alive in the quiet way that only memories are. And as you drift tonight, your own hippocampus hums quietly in the dark, deciding, in ways you'll never fully notice, what of this moment to keep. The sound of your breath, the warmth in your chest, this story, this calm. But how does your mind know what to focus on in the first place? What invisible force tells it? This is important. Notice this. Let's follow the sculptor called attention. Your eyes are open, but you don't see everything. Not really. Your ears hear more than you know. The buzz of a light, the tick of a clock, the gentle hush of your own breath. But most of it passes through you like wind through trees. This is where attention lives, in the space between sensation and meaning. Your mind is always watching, always listening. But like a sculptor holding a single chisel, it must choose where to carve. It cannot hold everything. So it picks, it selects, and what it chooses to shape becomes memory. Imagine you're walking through a quiet garden. The flowers bloom in every direction, red, blue, orange, yellow, but your gaze lands on one. Just one. A deep violet petal trembling with dew. In that moment, attention steps forward like a soft-spoken guide. It brushes aside distractions, the breeze, the hum of bees, the ache in your back, and places that violet flower gently on the pedestal of your awareness. Now it matters. This moment, this image, has a chance to become memory, because you noticed it, because you focused. Attention is your brain's gatekeeper. Millions of signals flood in every second. Sounds, lights, textures, thoughts. But only a handful are allowed inside. The rest are turned away at the door. You never even know they knocked. And the gatekeeper is not unkind. It is simply trying to protect you from overwhelm, from noise, from chaos. Think of attention like a spotlight on a dark stage. The room is full, but only what the light touches is seen clearly. Only what is lit can be remembered. And that spotlight is small. Tiny really. Just a beam. Just a moment. So the question becomes, where will you shine it? You may believe that attention is something you direct. I choose to focus, you think. And sometimes, that's true. You read a book. You follow a conversation. You listen for the sound of your child's laughter in a playground crowd. But much of the time, attention chooses you. A sudden sound, a flash of movement, a memory triggered by scent. Your attention turns before you realize. It is pulled, not placed, guided by instincts older than thought. There are two sculptors in your mind. Top-down attention and bottom-up attention. Top-down is deliberate, conscious. You decide to study. to listen, to remember. You hold the chisel and shape the moment. Bottom up is reflex, automatic. It notices danger, surprise, or beauty. It acts without permission. Together, they carve the shape of memory. One by choice, one by design, and both are essential. Neurologically speaking, attention begins in a part of your brain called the prefrontal cortex, the control center behind your forehead. Here, goals are made. Priorities are set. This region helps you ignore distractions and focus your light. But it works closely with older brain regions. The amygdala, which responds to emotion. The thalamus, a sensory relay station. The parietal cortex, which orients you in space. They pass messages like sculptors passing tools, carving meaning, smoothing roughness, deciding what to keep. When you give something your attention, neurons fire in rhythm. Connections grow stronger. A path is laid, from sensation to storage. And yet, attention is fragile, easily broken, easily scattered. Multitasking, for example, is a myth. Your mind does not hold two chisels at once. It switches back and forth, dropping one block of marble to pick up another. In that dropping, details are lost, edges blur, memories weaken. So when you try to do too much at once, checking your phone, talking, reading, planning, you may do all of them, but you remember none of them well. Because attention, like art, requires presence. Still, it can be trained, like a muscle or a breath. Mindfulness practices, gentle awareness of now, help strengthen your ability to notice what matters, to hold the moment in your hands, long enough for memory to take root. Even something as simple as truly tasting your food, feeling the ground beneath your feet, or pausing to hear the silence between sounds, can become a memory if you give it your full attention. And there is beauty in that, because it means you are not helpless in what you remember. You are not just a passenger in your own mind. You are, in part, the sculptor. You choose the shape of your days, by noticing, by being here, not everywhere at once, just here, now. And as you rest now, you might wonder, what happens after the sculpting? Once the moment is chosen, once it is given shape by attention, where does it go? Does it stay? Does it fade? How does your brain hold on while the world moves on? That is the work of sleep, the silent librarian who files memories while you drift in dreams. And so, we close this chapter on the sculptor and follow the sound of soft footsteps into the quiet night library where sleep begins to sort the shelves. You lie down in the quiet of your room. The world softens. Sounds fall away like distant echoes, and light dims behind your eyelids. As your breath deepens, your mind begins its nightly ritual, a slow, sacred shift from doing to dreaming. You may think of sleep as a pause, a blank slate, an absence, but inside your head, a different story unfolds. While your body rests, your brain lights up with quiet purpose. It doesn't power down. It reorganizes, rebuilds, reflects. Tonight, as you drift further inward, you enter a place where memories are sorted like books in a hushed library. The librarian? Your sleeping brain, calm, efficient, endlessly wise. Memory doesn't work alone. It depends on sleep like ink depends on paper. And sleep, though mysterious, is beautifully ordered. It unfolds in cycles, like waves washing the shore of your consciousness. Each cycle is a gentle arc, from light sleep to deep sleep to REM, and then back again. You move through these cycles about 4 to 6 times each night, each one taking roughly 90 minutes. Let's begin at the edge, light sleep. This is where your body relaxes, your heart rate slows, your muscles soften. It's like standing in the doorway of a dream. Here, your brain starts clearing out the clutter, the small details, the noise of the day. Most of these impressions never make it into long-term storage. They fade, like chalk on a sidewalk after rain. Then, you drift into deep sleep, the slow wave state. This is where the real work begins. In this phase, your brain becomes quiet but deliberate. Your hippocampus, the part of your brain that temporarily holds short-term memories, starts transferring data to the neocortex, where longer-lasting memories are stored. It's as if the librarian is carefully copying fragile handwritten notes into more permanent bound volumes. Experiences from your day are revisited. Not all of them, just the ones your brain has tagged as meaningful or emotionally charged, or those you focused on with deep attention. This is where practice becomes skill, where facts settle into place, and where emotional memories are woven into your personal story. If you studied a song on the piano today, this is when your brain replays the notes silently, strengthening the pattern. If you learned a new fact, your neurons whisper it back and forth like monks repeating a sacred chant. If something upset you, your brain carefully wraps the memory, softening its edges, reducing its sting, or sometimes sharpening its meaning, if it feels essential to your story. This silent work doesn't just store, it also edits. Your brain doesn't keep every detail. It compresses information, connects related thoughts, strips out noise. It's like dreaming with scissors and glue, making collages out of your life. Deep sleep is where raw experience becomes knowledge, where fragments form into sense. And then comes REM sleep, rapid eye movement. This is the vivid, dreaming phase. Your brain becomes almost as active as it is when awake, but your body lies still, held gently in paralysis. This is the phase where creativity glows, where memories are not just stored but integrated, linked with others, stitched into the broader fabric of your mind. Imagine a librarian walking through shelves with a lantern, finding unexpected connections between seemingly unrelated books. This is what your brain does in REM. It cross-references the emotional with the logical, the past with the present, the real with the imagined. This may be why dreams often feel surreal. They mix symbols, metaphors, and echoes from many corners of memory. Have you ever woken up with sudden clarity on a problem you couldn't solve the night before? That's REM at work, quietly rearranging your mental puzzle pieces until the picture becomes clear. Scientists believe REM sleep helps process emotions, regulate mood, and enhance learning. It's not just rest, it's revision. And it's one of the many reasons why losing sleep can make everything feel heavier, blurrier, more difficult to hold in mind. Even the timing matters. Deep sleep dominates the early part of the night. REM sleep, the dream-rich phase, grows longer in the morning hours. That's why the last stretch of sleep, just before you wake, is often when your dreams are strongest and your brain is most creative. In this sacred nightly process, memory is not merely preserved, it's transformed. Your mind doesn't just remember events. It shapes them, refines them, integrates them into your sense of self. Without sleep, these steps falter. Information gets lost. Emotional wounds remain raw. The librarian misses her shift, and the shelves become a mess. And yet, it's not only about logic and structure. There's poetry in this process too. Sleep allows your subconscious to speak. It lets your inner world float to the surface. It lets you re-experience, gently, symbolically, what your waking mind couldn't fully digest. In dreams, you revisit people you've lost, places you've left behind, feelings you've buried. Not because the brain is haunted, but because it is trying to heal. Children sleep more deeply and dream more vividly. Perhaps this is because their minds are growing rapidly, forming memories not only of facts, but of who they are becoming. Their libraries are new, bright, filled with fresh pages. And as we grow older, sleep changes. It becomes lighter, more fragile. The librarian slows down. But even in aging brains, memory still flickers under the surface, called forth by smells, sounds, stories. Like dust rising from old books. These echoes remind us we're never too far from who we've been. So tonight, as your breath slows and your body melts into the bed, know this: your mind is not idle. It is thoughtful, gentle, purposeful. It is tending to you in ways you cannot feel, organizing, healing, remembering. The person you will be tomorrow is quietly forming right now, beneath the quiet hum of your sleeping brain. And just as memory is strengthened by sleep, it is guided by something even subtler, something that decides what deserves a place in the library and what gently fades away, what gives one moment weight and another the lightness to float away. Perhaps it all begins with a simple, powerful force: your attention. You are lying still, eyes closed, breath slow. And yet, in your mind, 1,000 scenes are quietly waiting. A smell, a voice, a flicker of laughter. They come back, sometimes uninvited. Not every memory is loud, but the ones tied to your heart almost always are. You remember the thrill of your first kiss, the ache of parting, the way joy crackled in your chest during a childhood birthday. Why do these memories glow more brightly than the rest? Why do they refuse to fade? Tonight, you are wandering into one of the most powerful rooms in your mind's library. The chamber where emotion and memory intertwine. This is where feeling gives memory its echo. A place where your biology remembers what moved your soul. Deep in your brain, near its center, lies a small almond-shaped structure. It is ancient, primal, older than language, older than logic. This is your amygdala, the emotional gatekeeper of your experience. It doesn't think in words. It pulses with urgency, color, and instinct. When something happens that stirs your heart, a jolt of fear, a rush of love, a moment of awe, your amygdala lights up like a beacon. And when it lights up, it speaks to your hippocampus. That quiet archivist we met earlier, who sorts and stores your memories. The amygdala leans in and whispers, "This matters." The hippocampus listens, and what would have been just another passing moment becomes a lasting imprint. Your brain doesn't record life evenly. It highlights the peaks, the loudest laughs, the sharpest pains. In the gentle rhythm of daily life, your memory is often selective. It saves what stirred you. Think of emotion like ink. If memory is paper, then emotion is what soaks the page, making the story harder to erase. Fear especially leaves a deep print. This is your brain's way of protecting you, holding tight to danger so you can avoid it in the future. Evolution carved this habit long ago, when survival meant remembering which shadows held predators. But it's not just fear that sharpens memory. Joy can be just as sticky. Your favorite song from years ago can still lift your chest with warmth. A shared laugh, a family trip, the smell of a home-cooked meal. These become anchors, gently moored to your identity. Emotion doesn't just intensify memory, it can shape it. When you recall a moment wrapped in strong feeling, you don't just remember what happened, you remember how it felt. Memory becomes textured, warm or cold, bright or dim. This is why memory is never just a file, it's an experience. You relive it. Your heart may beat faster. Your body may respond, even as you lie still in bed. But there's something else happening too, something subtler. Each time you remember an emotional event, your brain replays it. And in doing so, sometimes it reshapes it. Like a favorite story told over time, memories can become softened or sharpened with each telling. They grow with you, shift with you. They are not frozen. They breathe. And sometimes, emotion plays tricks. It can attach itself to a moment that didn't deserve it, or blur the lines between what really happened and what you felt happened. This is not a flaw. It's the poetry of how your mind works. Not a camera, but a painter. In certain moments, emotion becomes so strong that memory takes an entirely different path. Trauma, intense, overwhelming emotion, can burn memories into the mind like scars. The amygdala overactivates, and the hippocampus may struggle to process the details cleanly. The result? Memories that are vivid yet fragmented, too loud in some places, missing in others. This is why healing takes time, because sometimes the mind needs to reorganize what the heart could not bear, to quiet the echoes until they can be heard without hurt. But even in gentler moments, the brain is constantly weaving. It pulls threads from the past and the present, ties together emotions and sensations, creating the rich, inner world you carry every day. Your emotions are not separate from your memories. They are part of them. They decide what stays. They give weight and color to your inner life. This is why we keep love letters, photographs, and old voice messages. Not because they carry facts, but because they carry feeling. As you rest now, your own mind is still at work, storing today's laughter, tucking away the way someone smiled at you. Even now, the soft hum of emotion is shaping what will remain. You may not remember every detail of this day, but you'll remember how it felt. And that may be more important than anything else. So you breathe slowly, letting the heart's story settle, and you begin to wonder, what happens when a memory so deeply felt is slowly forgotten or let go? What does it mean to forget? And could forgetting, in its own quiet way, be a gift? Not everything is meant to stay. As you settle deeper into rest, your mind begins to let go. Like autumn leaves releasing their grip, memory slips softly from the branches of your awareness. This is not loss. It is nature, a kindness quietly carried out by your brain, gently pruning what no longer serves you. You may think of memory as a collection, a vast archive, where every moment is a page to be preserved. But your mind is not a museum. It is a garden, and forgetting is the gardener's hand, trimming back what is overgrown so something clearer, more beautiful, can continue to grow. Even now, as you listen, your brain is deciding which thoughts to keep and which to release. These decisions happen without effort, like breath. You do not command them. You do not always notice them. But they shape the way you feel, the way you think, the way you live. Some memories fade naturally, not from damage or disrepair, but from simple, quiet disuse. Like paths in a forest, neural connections grow stronger the more often they are traveled, and those left untouched, they soften. The grasses grow tall. The trail becomes hard to find. Eventually, it disappears into green. This is called synaptic pruning, a natural process wherein used neural pathways are gently cleared away. It begins in childhood, when your brain has far more connections than it needs. Over time, those that matter most, the ones you use often, are strengthened, and those that are rarely used, they are let go, like stars dimming into the morning light. You might imagine forgetting as erasure, like a blackboard wiped clean, but the truth is more delicate. It is not a sudden act, but a slow drifting. Memory, when not rehearsed, loses its detail. Edges blur, faces soften. The exact words are replaced by impressions, feelings, colors. This is how your mind protects you from too much noise. Because if everything stayed, if every grocery list, every phone number, every passing glance were forever carved in stone, your thoughts would become a crowded room. Overwhelmed. No space to breathe. No space to think. Forgetting creates silence. And in that silence, your focus finds space to grow. There is grace in this fading. Even painful memories are not immune. Over time, the sharpness dulls. The ache softens. The brain's natural tendency is to reduce emotional intensity unless the memory is fed, revisited, reimagined, reopened. Otherwise, like waves smoothing a jagged rock, forgetting does its work gently. This does not mean memory is weak. On the contrary, forgetting makes memory stronger by making it selective. Your brain is an editor, choosing the scenes that matter most, giving them color and emphasis, while fading others into background blur. This gives your life shape. Narrative, meaning. You may sometimes find yourself forgetting why you walked into a room, or struggling to recall a name just on the tip of your tongue. These are common, harmless glitches, not signs of decline, but evidence of your brain's careful filtering. It keeps the essential, and it lets the momentary pass. There is also motivated forgetting, a process your brain engages in more actively, not in full consciousness, but in quiet alignment with your emotional well-being. Some memories are softened, stored deeper, or even blocked from access, not to harm you, but to protect your fragile edges while you heal. Trauma researchers speak of repression, a protective mechanism. The mind, in moments of great overwhelm, may hide memories away, not erased, just unreachable. Like books sealed in a locked drawer, they may resurface years later, brought to light by emotion, by therapy, by time. But in the moment, forgetting becomes armor. Forgetting also allows for relearning. Just as painters paint over old canvases, your brain reuses pathways. An old memory, once faded, may make space for a new one to take root. This flexibility, called neuroplasticity, keeps your mind young. Forgetting is what makes change possible. It can feel frustrating, forgetting where you left your keys, misplacing dates, losing track of a conversation thread. But these moments are not failures. They are signs that your brain is constantly making room, refreshing, renewing, simplifying. And sometimes, forgetting is love. You forget how harshly someone once spoke to you. You forget the awkward pause in a conversation. You forget a disappointment that once stung, and in that forgetting, you make space for forgiveness, for empathy, for peace. In this way, forgetting isn't the opposite of remembering. It is its partner, a quiet balance that allows your mind to stay open, uncluttered, and whole. So as you drift, you might picture your brain walking slowly through its own library, not burning books, not throwing anything away, just moving some stories to the back shelves, making room on the tables, letting the light fall more easily on the pages you still need. And maybe you wonder now, how does a memory choose to stay? What makes one moment hold on, while another drifts away? How does your brain decide what becomes permanent, and what dissolves like mist at morning? What makes a memory, and what does it mean for something to begin? Let's walk gently into that question next. You trust your memories. You believe they are yours, real, clear, and true. But in the soft twilight of the mind, something stranger stirs. Memories don't live in a vault. They live in motion, ever-changing, gently edited. You revisit a memory, and like a finger brushing wet paint, you smudge it just enough to alter the picture. You don't mean to, but your brain is not a recording device. It is a storyteller, and stories, even the truest ones, evolve each time they're told. You may remember your 10th birthday, the cake, the laughter, the flicker of candles. But were the balloons red or blue? Was your best friend there, or did you only wish they were? Did someone tell you the story later, and your mind folded it in like a missing puzzle piece? This is how false memories begin, not with deceit, but with love for continuity. Your brain wants things to make sense. It fills gaps like a weaver repairs a tapestry, invisibly, seamlessly, and often unknowingly. Scientists have studied this with quiet fascination. In one classic experiment, people were shown footage of a car accident. Later, some were asked, how fast were the cars going when they smashed into each other? Others heard the word bumped instead. That one word, smashed, created faster speeds in the minds of those who heard it. Days later, many even remembered broken glass, though there was none. It's not because your mind is weak. It's because it's alive, always interpreting, always updating. Memory isn't a fixed archive. It's an act of reconstruction. You remember the feeling of places you've been, the smell of a classroom, the texture of your grandmother's kitchen table. But those impressions are layered, real experience, emotional flavor, later stories, even dreams. Like watercolor on old parchment, they bleed into each other until you can't quite tell what came from where. You may have shared a moment with someone, a trip, a conversation, a childhood afternoon. But when you both recall it years later, your stories drift. You remember it as sunny, they remember rain. You were wearing blue, they swear it was green. You laughed at the same joke, but now one of you isn't sure it ever happened. Why does this happen? Because your memories are colored by your inner world. Each time you revisit one, your current emotions tint the ink. If you feel nostalgic, your memory softens. If you feel regretful, the same memory hardens or shifts. Your present mood reaches backward, gently altering the past. The memory feels stable, but it's not. Sometimes, memories come that were never yours to begin with. A photo you've seen so often, you believe you were there. A story told around the dinner table so many times, you feel it happened to you. Your mind adopts it, subtly, sincerely. It isn't lying. It's just trying to keep the story of you stitched together. The phenomenon is known as source misattribution, when your brain mixes up where a memory came from. Was it something you saw? Something you imagined? Something someone else told you? The boundaries blur. The brain, ever eager to organize, files the memory into your own archive. And then there are the more profound illusions. Memories implanted through suggestion, repetition, or emotion. In psychological studies, people have been led to remember entire childhood events that never happened, like being lost in a mall. The participants didn't just agree it might have happened. They described it, how they felt, who helped them, what they saw, all imagined, yet vivid. It may sound unsettling, but it's also beautifully human. Your brain isn't trying to deceive you. It's trying to create a story that makes sense, a story that holds together your identity, your relationships, your place in time. Think of your memory like a river. Each time you step into it, you stir the water. You take something from it, and in doing so, you change it just a little. The shape of the current shifts. The stones at the bottom roll. The memory is altered, even as it flows back to stillness. That's why two siblings can grow up in the same house and remember it so differently. One recalls warmth and safety, the other, loneliness. Neither is lying. Each experienced the same facts through a different lens. And as time moved forward, their memories, retold, revisited, reshaped, diverged even further. This doesn't mean your memories are meaningless. In fact, it's the opposite. Their softness gives them depth. Their subjectivity gives them life. Memories are like clouds, constantly shifting, yet full of meaning when you look closely. Your brain stores the past in parts. Sounds here, colors there, emotions in another drawer altogether. When you recall a memory, your brain reassembles the pieces. Most of the time, it gets it close enough. But once in a while, a piece from another puzzle slips in. This is why eyewitness testimony, once considered gold, is now known to be unreliable. It's not that people lie. It's that their memories feel completely real, even when they are not. And your memory doesn't just misremember. It can also create memories with no anchor in reality. Dreams that blur with waking life. Imagine conversations you're sure you had. Things you think you said but didn't. These phantom memories are echoes in the library of your mind. Soft pages written by shadows. So what does it mean to know that your memories can mislead you? Perhaps it means this, that truth isn't just in the details, but in the meaning you find in them. That memory is more poetry than photograph. That even a flawed memory can hold wisdom. And that sometimes forgetting a detail doesn't erase its value. It simply lets your mind breathe a little, letting go of perfect accuracy in favor of gentle understanding. Your memories, even the imperfect ones, shape your decisions, your habits, your hopes. They light the path forward, even when the past behind you is a little misty. So next time you recall something, a childhood sound, a college hallway, a name you haven't said in years, let it be soft. Let it be what it is, part truth, part dream, part you. And if a memory flickers differently tomorrow than it did today, that's not a failure. It's just the mind, painting again, gently, lovingly, in strokes you can't always see. Because what matters most isn't whether every detail is correct. It's how your memories make you feel. how they carry your story forward, even with smudged ink and missing pages. You don't need your memories to be perfect. You only need them to be meaningful. And perhaps now you wonder, if your memories can shift and blur, what about the ones happening right now, in your present moment? How does your mind juggle them, hold them, and keep you focused before they even become memories at all? Let's step into that mirror next and explore the quiet magic of working memory. Right now, in the quiet space where your mind meets this moment, a mirror is at work. It doesn't reflect your face or your surroundings. It reflects your thoughts, words you've just heard, images held for only a breath, numbers, directions, the thread of what you were just saying, all caught in this temporary, shimmering mirror inside your mind. This is your working memory. It's not a shelf in the library of long-term memories, nor a deep archive of who you once were. Working memory is a table, a mental workspace, where the tools of attention, language, and thought gather for just a little while, until the next thought arrives. Then, the old ones are brushed away, gently and without resistance. You use it all the time without knowing. When you dial a phone number someone just told you, when you read a sentence, remember the beginning while your eyes travel to the end. When you hold a question in your mind while listening for an answer. And yes, even now, as these words unfold, working memory is fleeting. It's like riding on water. It holds just enough for the now, not the then, not the later. Scientists believe it holds about 4 to 7 pieces of information at once. Any more than that, and the mirror cracks. The overflow spills out and disappears. But don't worry, this isn't a flaw. It's a feature. Like a theater with limited seats, working memory forces your mind to prioritize, to decide what gets center stage and what stays in the wings. What you keep in the spotlight can shape what you remember tomorrow or forget by morning. This mirror is powered by attention. Without attention, the mirror dims. You've felt this before. You're reading a sentence and realize you weren't paying attention. The words passed, but nothing stayed. That's the mirror unlit, present but empty. When you focus, the mirror shines. Each thought is brighter, clearer. Ideas connect. You can hold one idea and reach for the next, comparing, combining, weighing. In these moments, your working memory becomes more than just a tool. It becomes a place of thought itself. Imagine it now, a calm pond at dusk. The surface is still, and whatever lands on it, a falling leaf, a ripple of wind, is reflected in perfect clarity. That's your working memory in moments of focus. A quiet surface where clarity lives. But life isn't always calm. Distractions are like stones tossed into that pond, each one sending ripples, blurring the surface, distorting the reflections. Too many stones, and the image disappears altogether. That's why multitasking, a word we often admire, is, in truth, a strain on this delicate mirror. The more you ask it to hold, the more likely it is to drop something. Still, your working memory is resilient. It adjusts, it filters, and with practice, it even grows stronger. Yes, you can train your working memory, gently, just as you train a muscle not to bulk up, but to balance. Repeating things aloud, creating mental imagery, chunking bits of information into meaningful groups. These are ways your brain naturally supports the mirror, reinforcing its frame. For example, try remembering a grocery list of 10 random items. Hard. but group them into categories: fruits, dairy, snacks, and suddenly, the mirror reflects not 10 items, but 3 groups. Chunking gives shape to thought. Structure gives the mirror clarity. Your working memory also dances closely with language. It holds your sentence while you find the right word. It lets you finish a thought before you speak. In conversations, it juggles meanings, tones, and pauses, the unspoken parts between words. This is how you understand, not just hear. And it's not only for thoughts. Your body depends on working memory too. Athletes, musicians, dancers, all use it to hold positions, sequences, timing. A pianist reading music while playing with both hands is performing a miracle of working memory in motion. You do the same in your own quiet ways. Yet, this mirror tires easily. After long hours of focus, your working memory needs rest, just like your muscles after lifting. And here's the secret: rest restores it. Even brief pauses, a walk, a nap, a moment with no task. These give your mirror time to clear, to reset, to shine again. Sleep, especially, strengthens it. As you rest, your brain not only archives memories, it also resets the table for new ones. When you wake, the mirror is ready again, clear and still, reflecting the now. But this mirror is not immune to age. As you grow older, your working memory becomes more fragile. It holds less, tires faster. But the beauty is, the wisdom it supports grows richer. Older minds often carry deeper associations, richer meanings, stronger stories. What the mirror loses in speed, it gains in depth. And through it all, working memory keeps you rooted in the present. It is the stage on which your now plays out. Not the story of your life. Not the book on the shelf. But the page you're reading. The breath you're holding. The thought that lingers, just for a moment, before it fades. It's not permanent. It was never meant to be. But in its short life, your working memory does something precious. It lets you hold a moment long enough to feel it. Long enough to decide what comes next. Long enough to remember it, if only for a little while. And then it lets go. Just like that. Letting go makes space. Letting go brings quiet. And in that quiet, a deeper memory begins to stir. A memory that doesn't fade as quickly. A movement that stays, even when the moment has passed. A kind of remembering that lives in your hands, your steps, your instincts. A memory that moves your body without needing to ask your mind. Your body knows things your mind has long stopped thinking about. You don't remember learning to walk, not in the way you recall a birthday or a poem. And yet, your feet find balance every day. Your legs carry you without hesitation. You don't have to remind your fingers how to button your shirt or explain to your hands how to cradle a warm cup. These actions unfold without instruction. You just move. This is muscle memory. But more precisely, it's procedural memory, a type of long-term memory nestled deep in the unconscious layers of your mind. It doesn't speak in language or images. It doesn't need rehearsal in the way a math formula might. Instead, it's a memory of doing, stored not in your thoughts, but in your nerves, your muscles, and the fine-tuned choreography of your brain's motor systems. You were younger when you first tied your shoelaces. Clumsy fingers fumbling with loops, bows, tension. You might have repeated it again and again, slow, frustrating, focused. But then, one day, the motion slipped into place. You didn't need to think anymore. Your hands just knew. That knowledge didn't live in your conscious memory. It settled deeper, like water finding stillness underground. Procedural memory resides in a different neighborhood of the brain than episodic memory, which is the memory of events. Instead of your hippocampus, it leans on the basal ganglia and cerebellum, ancient, rhythm-loving regions responsible for coordination, repetition, and timing. They are the caretakers of your body's fluency, ensuring that movements flow smoothly, without stutter or pause. Imagine learning to play a song on the piano. At first, each note is effortful. Your fingers don't trust the keys. Your brain is split, part reading, part playing, part correcting. But then, over time, the rhythm takes root. The muscle fibers remember which finger strikes which key. The song becomes a feeling, not a sentence or a scene, but a fluid memory of movement and motion. And when you play it months later, perhaps years later, your hands surprise you. The notes come back. Your body has held on to the tune long after your mind has let it go. This is why we say it's like riding a bike, an action stored so deeply that it stays with you, no matter how much time has passed. Even after years without practice, your body remembers how to balance, steer, pedal. These memories are not erased easily, because they are written not just in neurons, but in patterns repeated across thousands of moments. Motor memories are less vulnerable to the forgetfulness of age. In conditions like Alzheimer's, where episodic memory fades, procedural memory often lingers. A person may forget names, dates, even loved ones' faces, yet still know how to tie a knot, brush their hair, or dance. The body becomes a keeper of memory when the mind begins to let go. Even your speech holds echoes of procedural learning. The way your tongue curls around syllables, the rhythm of your native language. These aren't things you memorize like facts. They're learned through practice, absorbed by repetition, and sealed in place by motion. When you speak, your lips, lungs, and larynx remember the shape of sound before you even think about it. Procedural memory isn't just physical. It's musical, mechanical, artistic. A sculptor shaping clay knows how to feel the curve of a cheek without conscious calculation. A dancer doesn't remember each step. They move because their body remembers the rhythm. A calligrapher's brush glides across paper, not because they're thinking of each stroke, but because their hand has danced this dance before. And your daily life is filled with these unconscious symphonies. You type on a keyboard without hunting for each letter. You unlock your front door without analyzing each movement. You cook, fold, drive, adjust, and you do it with grace because you've rehearsed these acts into memory. But procedural memory has its own peculiarities. Once it's learned, it can be hard to explain. Try describing how to tie a shoe to someone who's never done it. You may find your words failing. That's because this memory isn't easily verbalized. It resists translation into step-by-step logic. It's a knowing through doing, not through telling. And this also makes it resilient. You don't need to recall the moment you learned. Your body carries the knowledge forward like a quiet legacy. Still, not all habits are helpful. The same mechanisms that build skill can also cement unwanted patterns, nervous tics, poor posture, inefficient routines. The body learns what it repeats. This is why mindful repetition matters. What you do often becomes what your body remembers. But even then, the body is capable of unlearning, too. Slowly, gently, with patience. You can reshape movement, relearn balance, restore coordination. Neuroplasticity, the brain's ability to adapt and change, works hand in hand with procedural memory. Your nervous system is never static. It's listening. It's adjusting. Even in sleep, your motor cortex may rehearse skills, strengthening pathways without conscious effort. You lie still. The weight of the day slowly lifts. Your breath settles into a quiet rhythm. And beneath your closed eyes, something deeper stirs, the quiet storyteller within. There is a place in your mind where memory is more than a record. It is not just a catalog of events or a storage shelf of facts. It is a thread, long, fragile, and ever unspooling. This thread ties moments into meaning. It wraps around your choices, your regrets, your joys. It doesn't just tell you what happened. It tells you who you are. This is your autobiographical memory, the soft-spoken narrator of your life story. It doesn't always speak in words. Sometimes it shows you an image, the exact shade of blue in your childhood bedroom, the glint of light off your mother's earrings, the scent of cinnamon on a snowy morning. Sometimes it returns as a feeling, warm or aching, vague or vivid, like a familiar echo in a long hallway. Each of us carries a sense of self, and that sense is shaped, moment by moment, by what we remember. Your self is not something you find. It is something you quietly build, memory by memory, like a nest. Autobiographical memory isn't just one place in the brain. It's a woven network. The hippocampus, that small seahorse-shaped region deep in your brain, helps you form and retrieve memories. The prefrontal cortex, up behind your forehead, helps organize them, placing them in time, shaping meaning. Other regions, like the amygdala, add emotional weight, highlighting the memories that matter most. But the magic lies not only in storage. It lies in stitching. You stitch together fragments of experience, a walk under autumn leaves, a breakup in a coffee shop, the first day at a new job. They become chapters in a larger story, your story. A story you tell yourself, whether you speak it aloud or not. And the telling matters. The way you recall your past shapes how you see yourself now. Some memories glow, others cast shadows, and many change over time. You are not a fixed character in a frozen narrative. Your story shifts, just as you do. You reinterpret past events. You soften edges, rewrite meanings, uncover new understandings. The brain is not a courtroom, it's a canvas, and memory is paint. Have you ever remembered something differently years later? Perhaps you once felt ashamed of a mistake, but now it feels like a turning point. Or you recall a childhood moment, not exactly as it happened, but as it felt. The brain updates its stories with the wisdom of time. And this fluidity doesn't make your memory less true, it makes it more human. In moments of reflection, your brain lights up with activity. When you think back to your wedding day or the loss of a loved one, regions like the default mode network become active, a set of brain areas involved in inward thought. It's the same network that lights up when you daydream, imagine the future, or consider another person's perspective. In this way, remembering isn't just looking back. It's also how you look forward. You use memory to imagine what's next, to plan, to dream. And in imagining the future, your brain borrows scenes from your past. You remix old pieces into new possibilities. So memory, at its heart, is generative. It builds. It creates. It tells the story of where you've been so you can find your way to where you're going. Sometimes, your inner narrator grows quiet. In trauma, in grief, in illness, memory may fracture. The thread may feel broken. When people suffer memory loss, from conditions like Alzheimer's disease or brain injury, it's not only their past that seems to vanish. Their sense of self, too, may fade. The stories they once told about who they are become harder to find. But even then, fragments remain. A song lyric, a smile triggered by a familiar voice, a photo that brings back a flicker of something. These echoes are gentle reminders that identity is not just in words. It's also in feeling, rhythm, connection. And memory, like any story, can be told in many forms. For some, it's visual, a parade of images. For others, it's musical or tactile. The texture of life is unique in each brain. That's part of the wonder. No two autobiographies are the same, even if two people lived side by side. You may ask, why does this matter? Why explore memory at all? Because memory is how you meet yourself. It's how you remember who you've been and how you learn to offer compassion to that version of you. It's how you recognize patterns, draw meaning, and feel continuity in a world that keeps changing. Your memories may not always be perfect, but they are always yours. They form a bridge between your past and your present. They help you understand how far you've come and who you've become. You are not only your achievements, your work, or your roles. You are the moments that moved you, the lessons you carry, the laughter that still echoes inside you. You are the soft details only you remember, the ones no one else knows but you. And just as you are shaped by what you remember, you are also shaped by what you forget. Your mind lets go of what it no longer needs, not out of cruelty, but to make space. Space to grow, space to imagine, space to rest. Tonight, as you drift towards sleep, know this: your mind is still at work, quietly tending to the story of you. It turns the day's experiences over, deciding what to keep, what to release. It smooths the narrative, softens the edges, finds coherence. You don't need to hold it all. Trust that your mind remembers what matters. And tomorrow, your story will go on, one memory at a time, one thread at a time, one quiet chapter after another. But perhaps the deepest question remains softly unanswered. Before a moment becomes a memory, how does the brain decide what to remember at all? And now, dear listener, the tour draws to a close. You've walked softly through the winding corridors of your mind, past shelves of forgotten days, sunlit rooms of childhood, and quiet corners where emotions still breathe. You've touched the delicate threads that connect your past to your present, and glimpsed how your brain carefully weaves experience into identity, thought into memory, and memory into meaning. You've met the gentle sculptors of attention, the invisible librarians at work while you sleep, the painters of emotion, the graceful forgetters, the storytellers that make you you. Tonight, let it all settle. Let your mind rest like a book gently closed. Not forgotten, just paused. The pages still warm with life. The story still unfolding, even in silence. Your memories will wait, quietly, faithfully, until you need them. And as you sleep, your brain will continue its soft labor, organizing, pruning, preserving. Like moonlight through a window, it works without noise. So breathe. Feel the safety of being known, even by your own remembering mind. And if tomorrow brings new moments, let them land gently. Let them live. Let them become the next pages in the beautiful library that is you. Good night, gentle traveler of thought. Your story is still being written.